6:30, which is our start time, and I want to thank everybody for coming out. And I know that you're very interested in what we're going to be discussing here today, or at least our guest speakers are going to be discussing. And we're going to start. This has been going on for 7 years here in the city of Deltona. And the first person that I want to introduce to you, I want to read a little bio on him. So Brian is the meteorologist for Spectrum 13. And he's been working on this project with me since I was elected 7 years ago. Thanks to Lee Lopez, who's sitting in the back, who worked with me on this project as well and helped me put it together. So Brian has been a meteorologist for more than 27 years and first joined the News 13 team in 2015. Brian had dreamed of being a meteorologist since childhood and was always passionate about learning how storms form while addressing the importance of weather across a variety of climates. Brian has earned the National Weather Association's seal of approval and the approval of Deltona, and the American Meteorological Society's CBM seal of approval. An Emmy nominee, he has also won several awards for his work, including being named the 2009 National Weather Association Broadcaster of the Year and Best Weathercaster by the Florida Association Press in 2016, 2017, 18, 20, and 21. Brian's career first took off in Mankato, Minnesota, where he reported on a record-breaking March tornado outbreak, staying on the air for more than 2 hours as tornadoes touched down. While working as a morning meteorologist in Des Moines, Iowa, Brian became a storm chaser and studied these storms in the field since 2011. Brian is certified to teach nationwide courses in tornado awareness, hurricane awareness, flooding hazards, science and preparedness, coastal hazards, and climate adaptation planning by the National Disaster Preparedness Training Center. Brian has participated in the City of Deltona's Hurricane Awareness Town Hall meetings since they began 7 years ago, sharing his expertise and knowledge on what to expect and how to prepare for hurricane season. We only bring you the best. So without further ado, I would like to bring Brian up. And don't forget to show them your you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so here's Brian. Okay.
Thank you. I'll shorten that bio next year and update it too. I'll be celebrating 29 years in the TV business next month. So 29 years. 10 years here just back in April. Can't believe I've been 10 years in Central Florida. And yes, I've got my shoes, my radar shoes, but I also have my tropical storm socks that one of my meteorologists gave me for Christmas. Got to get it into it, right? Well, appreciate you guys being out here tonight. And I know that we're coming up fast on our new season, 2025 season, and we're hoping for nothing, right? Wouldn't that be nice? All right, so we're going to talk about being prepared, not scared. Don't be scared, be prepared. That is our mantra at Spectrum News 13. And Central Florida storm season is about to get underway. We're your calm in the storm. Just a quick team shout out. We are the nation's only team of dual certified meteorologists, and that is a mouthful, meteorologist. That is an opportunity for us to show that we have the past education, we have our continuing education, we go out and do workshops, we go to conferences, we bring ourselves up to speed on the very latest in technology and research, and then we pass that education on to you. So tonight I'm having the great conversation with you guys on weather, and we'll answer any of your questions if I can. We did add a new meteorologist, and by the way, I'll just quickly run through Chris Gilson, our weekend night meteorologist, Mallory Nichols, who is standing right next to me. She's on right now, and she's the one who gave me the socks for Christmas. Maureen McCann is on my other side. She's our morning meteorologist, and then Zach Covey, far right, is our weekend morning meteorologist. In the back, we have Amy Sweezy from WESH. We took her as soon as she walked away from WESH, and she wanted to keep her feet wet in the business, and I said, come on, let's go. And she's been a great addition to our team as a contractor, and Rob Eicher in the back as well. But we just added another meteorologist. He starts on Monday. His name is Greg Bennett. He has lots of Florida ties. He grew up in Florida in Brevard County, and he's moving back to Brevard County. As a matter of fact, he just moved back Sunday. They're unpacking, getting ready for upcoming hurricane season, and he starts on air with us on May 27th, so you have to stay tuned for the morning show on May 27th. All right, with that out of the way, 24 days, that's it, until we officially kick off the Atlantic hurricane season. It runs June 1st through November 30th. The Pacific Pacific hurricane season actually begins May 15th. So it gets about a 15-day jump on the Atlantic season. It also runs through November 30th. And right now, models, they're all over trying to figure out what's going on. And of course, we get our early season spin-ups that are, we call them phantom storms. So if you hear a little chatter on the social media sites, there's nothing brewing for us. We don't have to worry about it, at least right now. Peak of hurricane season, it is September 10th. So as you see here in our graphic, we run all the way up to August and then see a very sharp incline in hurricane season to the peak on September 10th, and then a slow slide back out. You also notice that we can have storms in May, and we can have storms in December. It's not out of the question. It's very rare, but not out of the question. Now, with that said, the peak of hurricane season, we typically see 53% of our tropical storms during the peak of hurricane season. I like to walk back and forth, by the way. It's just TV nature. I don't have a green screen, but 61% of the hurricanes in a given hurricane season occur in the peak of hurricane season, and that actually roughly runs August 20th through about October 10th. And 73% of major hurricanes feeding off very warm ocean waters, that's usually what occurs, 73% would occur in that peak as well. So, what do hurricanes need to form? Well, they need at least 79-degree or warmer sea surface temperatures. We have that right now in the Gulf. We do not have it in parts of the Atlantic just yet, which is some good news. I'll get to that in just a second. We need to keep that storm away from the equator because the equator stops that spin. Low wind shear is ideal for hurricane development. So what is wind shear? Well, as you're going up toward the sky, let's say we're walking up toward space, we're getting wind that's coming from our back. We'll keep going, and it's coming from our side, then it's coming from our front, and it's changing speed as well as the direction. So wind shear is actually something that can chop off a hurricane, keep it from breathing, because that wind is actually changing direction and speed and acting like the shears that you would take for your bushes chop off the top, and that's not allowing the hurricane to breathe. If there's no wind shear, there's nothing helping to kick that thing at the top, it's going to breathe, all right? So we're looking for low wind shear to keep development at a minimal. And we need an unstable atmosphere. It's going to provide the fuel for thunderstorms to develop. We need a system nearby, some sort of an area of low pressure that's going to develop and start to strengthen. All right, so I didn't put May in here just because it's so rare, because the official start of season is June 1st. But here's where we would be watching June 1st through June 30th. Typically out into the Gulf. You see the Northwest Caribbean and also along our East Coast. This is because we typically, at this time of year, we're still seeing some fronts occasionally drop south, cold fronts, and we get spins that may occur along those fronts. So as we take into the peak of hurricane season, huge difference, right? Well, typically, during the peak of hurricane season, we have very, very warm water right down through the central Atlantic. This is called our main development region. And this is where we would have all the high-octane fuel. We'd have distance to feed and provide the moisture. And then as we curl back up off our coasts, a lot of times these things will drift across the Caribbean and into the Gulf. And a lot of times they'll take themselves up over Bermuda. And that seems to be where they were all tracking last year. Most of them were heading toward poor Bermuda. Oddly enough, they have been through so many hurricanes, but they still have a great lifestyle and really not a lot of damage that has been done in the island of Bermuda itself over the years. All right, so that takes us to this season. Right now, the only forecast out by official forecasters from Colorado State University, they are calling for 17 named storms this year. On average, we see 14. They're calling for 9 hurricanes Our average is 7, and they're calling for 4 major hurricanes. The average in a season is typically about 3. So, with that said, they're calling for slightly above average. Now, we will wait until NOAA, National Weather Service, NOAA, come out with their forecasts, and we'll see if the Hurricane Center decides to go about the same. And I have a feeling they're probably going to be pretty lined up. Then they give a range. They'll probably say between 13 and 18 storms. So they'll give it a range, whereas Colorado State just nails down a number and you go for it. But I want to tell you right off the bat, I don't pay attention to those numbers. I really don't, because it only takes 1. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter if they're calling for 17 storms and they all occur. They're not all going to hit us. Knock on wood. But I don't pay attention because it only takes 1 to really give us fits. So, early forecasts calling for a slightly above average season, but there is a lot of uncertainty because we actually have slightly cooler water in that main development region of the Atlantic Basin. So we don't have the high-octane fuel there. Last year at this time, it was about 3 or 4 degrees warmer in that part of the Atlantic, out in the central Atlantic. So we're running slightly cooler. That's what we like to hear, right? So sea surface temperatures in the Gulf, unfortunately, they are already warm enough to sustain and support development. But as I just mentioned, it only takes 1. And this is what it looks like any forecast season. All over the place. All right, so I love the memes. Jim Cantori, who's a great friend, I do know that wherever I see him go, I still get a little bit nervous. And he says, people asked when is a good time to worry, and that's when you worry. If he shows up in Deltona, Jim shows up in Deltona, you know we may have some issues. But we will always rebuild no matter what, right? I'm not sure. There's several of these memes that go out. It's pretty funny. All right, so I want you to do me one favor, and I've shared these next 2 slides every year just because it really hits home a point. Just ignore the hype. I told you right off the bat, we don't hype. Don't be scared, just be prepared. We don't hype up a storm. I don't want to hype a storm because I don't want to scare. Hype does nobody any good. But here's what our former governor said, and again, it's not a political statement, all right? I'm not making any political statements. These are things that were actually said that just made me cringe. So this is back, and I believe this is during Irma. Looks like I need to move that. Yeah, we had the collision occur over us, so it's pouring out right now. The sea breeze is right overhead. This is an unbelievably massive, destructive storm. Now, what do you think if somebody's scared of storms already? What are they thinking now? It's a killer. You will not survive all this storm surge. You're telling the residents of Florida this? And then goes on to say, Irma is bigger, faster, and stronger than Hurricane Andrew. My God, Hurricane Andrew destroyed South Florida. You know, Homestead really didn't exist after Andrew. This storm will be nothing like the state has ever seen. And I tell you what, we lived through Irma. It was nothing like he said it was going to be. We did have a lot of damage. I lost shingles. I lost some trees in my West Orange County home, but it was not bigger than Andrew. Then there's Shep Smith. I don't even know where he is anymore, but he's talking Irma, and he says to a national audience, this moves 20 miles to the west, and you and everyone you know are dead. All of you, because you can't survive it. It's not possible unless you're very, very lucky, and your kids die too. Imagine a family of 4 and the parents sitting there with 2 young kids watching and hearing this, scared to death because they're telling you you're going to die. Smith spoke with a Floridian woman who didn't want to leave her home. I'll ask her why she's staying and if she expects us to cover her funeral. Yeah, tasteless, tacky, and this is what you don't want to listen to. Don't listen to people who freak you out. They're not doing you any good. They're doing a disservice in this business. That aside, let's move on to our names for this season. The first one on our list is Andrea. Move on to Barry and Chantal, all the way down to Lorenzo, get over to Pablo, Tanya, and let's hope we don't get to Van or Wendy. And if we get to Wendy and we move on, here's our supplemental list. You know, they used to do Greek alphabet They don't anymore because if you think about it, you have a Greek named storm, and it's like Andrew, where they've retired it because they retire storms at a certain amount of destruction and death. They don't want those names out there because that just is haunting, and it brings back those memories, all right? So in a Greek alphabet, you've got one. You can't just change and put a different one in. You've got a list of Greek letters, but that's it. So if you retire one, then you're just eliminating from that list, and if you get all the way down to that, so they've decided to move with a supplemental list. Adria would be the first one, all the way down to Will. Again, we ever get down to this, and I don't want to live in Florida. I don't want to live in Florida if we get to Will on the second list, all right? At that point, I will be in Canada. I don't know, somewhere where I'm not having to deal with two different name lists in one season. That would be insanity. Let's hope it never happens. So a quick dive into what we do behind the scenes. 7 to 10 days out, we're actually looking at the pattern. We're trying to figure out, is this pattern favorable for any kind of development? Warm sea surface temperatures, low shear, what's the pattern with the areas of low pressure are high, our ridges are high pressure. We watch the trends over 4 to 7 days out, and we continue to follow those trends and just watch the model runs, because some of the model runs will spit something out in one time frame, and then 2 runs later it disappears or it shifts, and that's gonna happen. Within 2 to 4 days, we've got timing and impacts. We're getting pretty confident at this point, especially with the technology that we have today. Satellites helping us pinpoint exactly where the storm is, the eye, etc. So we're getting better with the timing and impacts about 2 to 4 days out. 1 to 2 days out, we've got that forecast nailed. We're going county by county. We're telling you here in Volusia County what you can expect with wind, what you can expect with rain, and what you can expect with potential tornadoes as well. All right, so with that, we may see a tropical storm watch issued. This is when winds are sustained at 39 to 73 miles per hour within the next 48 hours. Get a tropical storm warning, that's when winds of 39 to 73 are expected within the next 36 hours. So we're giving you time, and I'm not issuing these, by the way. These watches, the actual tropical watches coming out from the National Hurricane Center, are giving you, hopefully, enough time to prepare your family and your friends and neighbors, your homes, etc. And you're already doing that now as we head toward the season. If a watch for a hurricane is issued, it means winds over 74 are possible within the next 48 hours. But once we're in that hurricane warning, that means we are expecting winds over 74 miles per hour within the next 36 hours. Very quick rundown. I'm not going to go through each and every line of the categories, but I wanted to give you a really good idea of what we could see in these categories. All right, so Category 1 hurricane, winds of 74 to 95 miles per hour, minor damage, power outages. We can handle that, right? We handle it every year, it seems like. We get these Category 1s or 2s or 3s that come close by, provide us rain and tornadoes and winds. Category 2, we're building up to 96 to 110 miles per hour. This is when we start taking down even more trees. We have a lot of trees in this county, a lot of pine trees that are tall, and those old oaks. This is when we could actually start seeing power outages that last days to, unfortunately, even weeks. Category 3, 111 to 129 miles per hour, damage to roofing and windows likely. So maybe you're boarding up your windows, you're putting your shutters out, you're not running tape down the middle in a big X. That will not do you any good. It's not going to stop glass from breaking or blowing in, all right? So don't be putting a big old taped X on your windows. So we're now moving into Category 4, and before I get to 4, Category 3 and above, Category 3, 4, and 5, those are considered major hurricanes. Major hurricanes with those severe winds have the highest impact. So 4 with 130 to 156 mile per hour winds. This is when we suffer major damage to our homes, and trees and power poles are snapped. Some homes are actually completely destroyed. Power outages lasts for weeks. And then we get into a Category 5. This is what Andrew was. This is what they bumped Michael up to. Michael hit Mexico Beach up in the Panhandle. It came ashore as a 4, but after they did more research, they found that there was damage to sustain Category 5 hurricane just at landfall, and it was a rapidly intensifying hurricane at that. This is extensive damage. This is devastating damage with power outages that last for weeks. These are the hurricanes that also produce us the flooding rains, and as we know too well, the St. Johns River was flooding from rains out of Ian back a couple years ago, and we had flooding on that St. Johns River for 2 months. It was beyond Thanksgiving. It was like we were still talking the holidays and that river was still up. So what can you do now to prepare? And I know that we've got some other guests that are probably going to go through some of these, but I'll just go through quickly just to give you a few ideas. Shop today. Create a hurricane kit. Avoid those lines. Don't wait until the last minute. You wait in these huge lines. You've got people who are getting angry. They're getting frustrated. They're getting scared. Get your supplies now. Not to mention, plywood goes fast, and you may run out. Bottled water. We saw that during Irma. Bottled water off the shelves so very quickly. Know your evacuation route. You guys don't have to worry about that, but do keep in mind if you're near a body of water, or if you are at the coast here in Volusia County, you need to figure out where to evacuate. Perform an insurance checkup. You realize that your insurance doesn't include flood insurance. Policies don't here in the state. You have to make sure that you have flood insurance. I would highly recommend it. You don't have to have it. I would highly recommend it. So take advantage of the sales tax holidays. I believe we have 2. I don't know offhand the dates, but usually in June and then another one mid-season. There are 2 separate periods where you can get discounts, tax holidays. Buy and donate supplies to those who are less fortunate. We have a lot of folks who can't afford to go out and get supplies. And just kind of figure out what you need to last several days, maybe without power. During a hurricane, obviously you don't want to go outside. Stay indoors, away from windows and glass. Put as many walls between you and the outside as you can. Have your safe place. Have your hurricane kit there. Have yourself a way to get alerts. Watch for rising water. I just mentioned that. And obviously have a way to watch your local news. I would love it if you watch Spectrum News. We take you through these storms from beginning to end. But whoever you trust, all right? Whoever you trust. Keep your curtains and blinds closed. I know that's kind of a drag because it's like, it's so dark. But that will help if debris decides to blow in, to keep that debris from coming into your house. After a storm, make sure your family and friends are safe. Check on your neighbors, those who are susceptible and cannot actually maybe get out of the house. Maybe they've sustained damage. Help them out. Just make sure they're okay. Check your property, but be mindful of debris, power lines and trees, standing water, critters in that water. We get flood waters and we have those big old nasty snakes and those gators that can come out. And keep generators outside and away from your house. All right, you don't want that generator running inside because carbon monoxide is a killer. And we unfortunately lose lives every single year due to carbon monoxide poisoning. You use battery-powered flashlights. I wouldn't use candles. You fall asleep, kick it, accidentally knock it over. Yeah, that's not going to be a good situation. All right, so hopefully I didn't go too fast as I'm kind of winding down here. Concluding thoughts, everyone should be aware of our growing Florida population. We were just discussing, you guys are probably over 100,000 population in Deltona alone now. I think when I first started this with Lee, a little over 80,000. So, I mean, this population is exploding. You're seeing it. We discussed the traffic. And so just be mindful of those who have moved into the county who don't know about hurricane season, or maybe they've never been through one. They're going to need some extra hand-holding, a little help. Check in with them. See what they need. Give them some ideas. I just gave you a bunch. Go through a kit and just maybe show them your kit and how to put them together and prepare for the upcoming season. And we all should be prepared for tropical and severe weather any time of year. This line that's developing will more than likely kick out a severe storm or 2, probably on my drive down I-4. But we need to be prepared for this every year. And so if we do so and we prepare ahead of time, we're going to be ready for what comes. We're not going to be thinking, oh my God, I forgot this. Oh my God, I forgot that. So once you get into that state of mind that, hey, I'm prepared, then you won't be scared. That's why we say don't be scared, just be prepared. And don't get wrapped up in the hype of local media and social media. I tell you, my friend keeps telling me I need to call out some of the local meteorologists who are hype mongers. I'm afraid to call them out because they are also friends, and I hint behind the scenes, but I'm like, go ahead, do what you're going to do, because we do what we do. And people say, I tuned in because you were calm and you weren't freaking us out. So one of these days, as I'm getting a little older, I might start calling them out, but you know who they are. Some of you know who those local hype mongers are. So this, by the way, is a snapshot of, okay, I had an image off the very top of the slideshow, and I should have told you. It was Hurricane Milton down near the Gulf, near the Yucatan Peninsula. The fastest growing hurricane on record went from a tropical storm to a Cat 5, and then that's what came up. Milton came up and provided us some nasty weather, including a record-breaking tornado outbreak in South Florida. This is actually Helene. This is an image of Helene. And I tell you, each of these storms that comes in just off our west coast makes us all go, oh God, because we're on that, what they call the dirty side of the hurricane. This is where we get the tornadoes. This is where we get bands of extremely heavy rain. That was Helene providing us a glancing blow before it took on the Big Bend, and unfortunately took on Georgia, South Carolina, and really, really hammered the mountains of North Carolina. They are still suffering. And now, because of drought growing, they have fires burning all over in those mountains. So now people are trying to get ready for the next hurricane season, and there's fires to concern themselves with. So don't be scared, just be prepared. We're all going to be good. Yeah, this is a good way to end it, huh? I'd like to cancel my subscription, and I'm sure you would as well, for the Hurricane of the Month Club. I do want to take a selfie really quick, and on top of that, if you guys want to join, I'll give a quick picture of everybody. I have to, unfortunately, I have to take off. I have an early morning meeting that I have to jump on tomorrow, and it's from here to my house on the south side of Orlando is about an hour, so especially with this. So I will answer questions as soon as I take a quick selfie of all of us. No, I think I could get everybody in. Yeah, I got everybody, except you guys. Here, we'll do, I don't know if I can see you guys back there or not. We're going to get this side. Ready? 3, 2, 1. I wonder if it'd be better because you two are over there if I come to this side. Sorry, I'm particular with my selfies. There we go. Now we got everybody. All right. Everybody ready? Gotta look at, yeah, say hurricane. Hurricane! No hurricane, no hurricanes. All right, quick questions. It doesn't have to be hurricane related.
This is live, so it's being televised. So if you have a question, I want you to do it speak on the microphone so everybody can hear your question and hear your answer. Anybody have any questions? Okay.
None? Thank you.
So before you leave, though, Brian, we like to give you something. The city has prepared a proclamation for you.
Oh, wow.
And it says, Brian Carrick, Chief Meteorologist, Spectrum News 13, thank you for being the guest speaker at the City of Deltona's Hurricane Awareness Town Halls for the past 7 years. Your expertise and knowledge on what to expect and how to prepare for hurricane season provides valuable education for our residents to stay safe during and after a hurricane tornado event. Don't be scared, be prepared.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you.
But something else, this is from me personally, but I need you to open it.
Oh.
Yeah, right? I didn't think about that one.
And by the way, I'll, at some point, Catherine, I'll send up our hurricane guides. They aren't printed yet, so once they're printed, we'll have some hurricane guides here at City Hall. Ooh. Oh. All right. Thank you. Oh, cool. Awesome. Wow, thank you. So City of Deltona, thank you, meteorologist Brian Carrick. Awesome. Oh, and be prepared, not scared. Don't forget that mantra, be prepared, not scared, because it really does help you go into the hurricane season and you're not nervous because you're all ready to go.
And I want to thank my friend Rachel for putting that together for me at the last minute.
Thank you. No questions?
I know, right?
Trade you.
There we go. Thank you so much for being out here.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Next year for sure.
Absolutely, I like mine. Okay, so our next presenter would be Clint. How do you spell it? Meekum from the Volusia County Emergency Management, who will discuss what the county does to prepare for hurricane season. And to us here in Deltona, it's an honor to have Clint here because it's not very rarely that we can drag the county representatives here into the city of Deltona. So thank you so much for being out here. And I know he has somebody with him who's also would like to share some information on emergency shelters.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Well, folks, thanks for allowing me to come and spend part of my evening with you. As I was introduced, my name is Clint Meekum. I am your Volusia County Emergency Management Director. I am a transplant. I have been here about 2 years now. I retired from the fire service in the Salt Lake Valley in Utah. Everybody's like, Utah? What do you know about hurricanes? Well, fortunately, we didn't have a lot of hurricanes in Utah, but we did have avalanches and earthquakes and that kind of stuff. So at least hurricanes, I can see them coming. So I very much appreciate that aspect of being here in Florida. But I very much enjoyed getting to know my new friends and family here in Volusia County. I do try and get to the west side of the county as often as I can because there's this little thing called the St. Johns River that runs down the west side of the county that we need to pay attention to, especially during hurricane season with the closed basin. A little bit about myself above and beyond, just coming from Utah. I did spend 28 years in the fire service. I retired as a division chief with Unified Fire Authority in the Salt Lake Valley. The last 10 years of that career, I was Salt Lake County's Emergency Management Director. It was part of the fire department. Since 2000, I've also been with FEMA's Urban Search and Rescue Program, and I've had the opportunity to deploy to a few large incidents, Ground Zero, Katrina, Rita, Ernesto, Dean, Barry, Harvey, and I spent all of October of 2022 in Lee County for Ian. So while I don't have a lot of experience on the front side of hurricanes, I have a whole bunch of experience on the backside and responding to hurricanes. So I'm going to spend a lot of time regurgitating what Brian already told you. So that's a good thing. I appreciate him doing that for me because that means you don't have to listen to me as long. But I do want to take a minute and talk about what emergency management is. So in Florida especially, everybody thinks emergency management are those hurricane people. That's not necessarily true. We are what we call all hazards. There's actually 17 different categories of disaster that we have to play the what-if game and think about, whether they be weather-related, whether it be terroristic type stuff, whether it be hazardous materials and transportation incidents, and the list goes on and on. Cyber is the latest and greatest one that we're having to contend with right now. Yes, wonderful, right? But we provide, in a nutshell, we provide our first responder communities, okay, and those would be your fire, your law enforcement, your public works, your public utilities people, with the logistical and coordination support to make sure that we are all working together in lockstep to respond to and recover from any significantly impactful events here in the county. So that's what we do. I have a staff of 10 in Volusia County Emergency Management, and we serve all, at latest count, 600,000 folks in Volusia County. We also take into account the visitors that we get to Volusia County. Anybody want to take a wild stab at how many visitors we had to Volusia County last year? 10.2 million. Florida as a state had 132 million visitors last year to the state. We got 10 million of those. So we're a very popular destination space, and you folks living here close to I-4, you get the brunt of that. right? The fact that you're close to Orlando, you get the brunt of that too. So you kind of get a double whammy on that. But we spend a lot of time thinking about what if, creating plans on how we coordinate the resources to work together at the local, the county, the state, and the federal level to essentially return you folks back to as close as to normal as what was before the event, as fast as we can after the event. Okay. We do a lot of logistical support for our first responders. We make sure that they've got, in a military parlance, the beans, bodies, and bullets that they need to respond to whatever tactical situations that they may face. We don't tell them how to do their jobs. We make sure that they have what they need to do the job the way they determine they need to do it. So that's what we do. We spend a lot of time talking with our cities and a lot of time talking with the state on how we coordinate those resources and how we get additional resources into the county in the event that we need them. Okay, so that's emergency management in a nutshell. Just more verbiage, and these slides are very word dense, and I apologize for that. But we have 5 mission pillars. Okay, we have prevention, preparation, mitigation, response, and recovery. So those are our 5 mission areas, okay? Response is the one that everybody always talks about and the ones that everybody sees, right? That's 2% of our time, okay? It's the fun part. It's not necessarily where we spend most of our time. We spend most of our time in preparation and mitigation, and unfortunately, on the recovery side of things. While an incident, a storm, for example, a hurricane, may affect us for a day or two, recovery can go on for literally months, and in some cases, years. We still have one mitigation project on the books from Irma that we are contending with. So it can take a long time to get back to that normal state after we experience a significant impact. But as I said, here's some of the things we think about. Wildfires, that's been kind of a topic the last couple of weeks, but thanks to Brian's rain dance, hopefully we're getting towards the end of that season. Yeah, exactly, and I'll give him the credit all day long. So anyway, sinkholes. Anybody ever had to deal with a sinkhole? We have to worry about those too, right? Exotic diseases, and not just COVID. So I know my counterparts over in Texas right now are dealing with measles outbreaks. Right? So there's a lot of those kinds of things. My deputy director has told me that if we ever have to do something like COVID again, she's quitting. So, no, I'm just giving Aubrey a bad time, but we deal with that. And as I said, 10 million visitors to Volusia County. We spend a lot of time doing special event stuff. I mean, we've already seen the 500 this year. We've seen Bike Week this year. We just got done with Jeep Beach. Anybody know what the next one rolling up here in a week is? Rockville. Rockville's next week. Coke Zero Sugar 400's coming up shortly. So that's on the books, and then Biketoberfest, and so it goes and so it goes. On top of our just normal tourist season from having world-famous beaches on the east side of the county, right? And as I understand it, we're getting more and more tourists into the west side of the county because of the mountain biking trails. So again, you folks are going to start seeing more and more of that kind of stuff too. So those are some of the things we have to deal with. But getting back to a little bit more specifically about the topic tonight, we operate out of the Emergency Operations Center. It's on Tiger Bay Road, just off of International Speedway Boulevard. It was built in 2011. It is designed to withstand 180-mile-an-hour sustained winds, and we can bunker in there, and we do bunker in there before a storm, and we stay there throughout the storm until we get the all clear. It's also co-located with the Sheriff's Dispatch Center, and the Sheriff's Dispatch Center handles all the 911 calls in the entire county for law enforcement, fire, and EMS. So we're co-located in that facility. The facility is open. If you ever want to come take a tour, come knock on the door. We'll show you around. Okay? Nothing we do is top secret. So to kind of recap 2024, getting back to hurricanes, 18 named storms, 11 hurricanes, 5 majors, 2 impacts to Florida for majors, Helene and Milton, okay? At landfall, Helene was a 4, at least that's what the National Weather Service is telling me, and Milton was a 3. Can anybody tell me the strongest storm that Volusia County, level of storm that Volusia County has ever been directly impacted by? Category 1. Category 1. When all the storms have gotten to Volusia County, they have not been stronger than a Cat 1. So while they start big, by the time they get here, they're not necessarily as strong, right? Everybody remembers Milton last year, right? Ian a few years before that, Charlie. Those were significantly impactful to Volusia County, right? So when Brian says be prepared, that is key, because they're not anything to be scared of, but we do need to be in a position to help ourselves and help our neighbors so we can get back to that near normal state as rapidly as possible together. And it will take all of us together. And as we've seen from a lot of the storms that have affected Volusia County, it's not just, most people think, oh, it's a hurricane, the beach is going to get washed away. Well, maybe. Do you know where the highest level of rainfall was for Milton in Volusia County? The land in Deltona. Okay, you guys took the brunt of the rainfall for those storms, at least according to the official accounts. In some cases, we had reports of 18.5 inches of rain up in DeLand. Okay, that's a lot. That's a 500-year storm event. Okay, a 100-year storm event's around 11-ish, I believe, if I remember my numbers correctly. So that's a recap of the 2024 season. Some of the things, and again, I'm not telling you anything you folks don't already know. Extreme wind, tornadoes. Anybody know how many tornadoes Milton spawned? Latest official count I got was 46. Okay, St. Lucie and Palm Beach counties took the brunt of those. And we appreciate them falling on that sword for us. We really do. But again, I've been here a short period of time, but my staff who has been here much longer tells me that traditionally if we do see tornadoes coming from severe weather storms, whether they be hurricanes or thunder cells, they have a tendency to follow the I-4 corridor. So again, I'm not trying to create a panic with anybody, but you folks are right here along it. So again, being prepared, being ready is absolutely critical for all of you, right? Storm surge. Storm surge, we saw it during Ian, we saw it during Nicole, worse than Ian. That's always a problem. Coastal erosion. Everybody tells me that the beaches are still not recovered from maybe what they were pre-Ian, pre-Nicole. Hey, I'm just happy to have a beach to go to. Utah didn't have a lot of beaches. Great Salt Lake doesn't count. Okay, just saying. Okay. Utility outages, and Brian talked about those as well. Damaged infrastructure. Okay, that's one that we spend a lot of time recovering from. Water mains, sewer systems, electrical systems, gas systems, gas stations, grocery stores. A lot of that kind of stuff can take a long time to recover. Now, Florida does a really good job at a statutory level requiring various types of facilities to be more prepared. They have stipulations on gas stations that are close to freeways, having generator backup power, those sorts of things. But again, it can take a long time to recover. And again, Brian went through this much better than I can, so I'm just going to breeze through this fairly quick. Tropical depression, 38 up to 38 miles an hour. Tropical storm, 39 to 73. Hurricane, 74, 73 or above, right? Okay, I will spend a little time on this, and again, Brian went through the categories, and again, there they all are. But what I want to emphasize is damage levels, okay? So the damage incurred by these types of storms is not a linear scale. It is an exponential scale, okay? So if we use a Category 1 hurricane as a level 1 damage, by the time we get up to a Category 5, it's 500 times the amount of damage to be expected than a Category 1. So again, when we start talking escalations between categories, the potential impacts are significant. And again, I don't say that to scare anybody, but please understand the threat that we are facing when we go even from a Category 1 to a Category 2. It's 10 times the amount of damage in that one step, okay? Major hurricanes only account for 21%, or major hurricanes, only about 21% make U.S. landfall. When it comes to FEMA payout and FEMA claims and the damages that are reported, they account for 83% of the damages reported in the U.S. due to natural disasters. So again, they are significant. Sorry, Wesh is up there, Brian, not you guys. So this is what we've been able to accrue, and again, Brian went through this. Colorado State University has a very good hurricane research center. Why they study hurricanes in Colorado, I'm not exactly sure, but they do. And again, there are the numbers that we got from them earlier in the season. They've updated that number a little bit, and that was reflected in Brian's slide. The National Weather Service, as Brian indicated, they will be coming out with their predictions. May 22nd is the date that they've given us that they will come out with their predictions. So again, you can see kind of where everybody's guessing, and it's a touch above normal. It's not as big as last year's predictions. But as Brian said, it only takes one, right? Names, you've seen the names. See, I told you, he stole a lot of my thunder here, which is a good thing. One of the things I wanted to talk about, though, too, and again, most of us here in Volusia County have experienced it, right? The rainfall event, right? Milton and Ian were not significant wind events for Volusia County. It was all about the water, right? And I believe, if I remember correctly, Spruce Creek for Ian got almost 22 inches of rain in less than 18 hours. Okay, there's not a storm system in the U.S. that can handle that kind of rainfall, right? So that's why we saw the impacts. Milton was much the same. We got a lot of water in a very short period of time. So even though it may not seem like we are going to get significantly impacted by wind, a storm may be downgraded from a hurricane back down to a tropical storm, for example, that does not necessarily mean that we will not be impacted by the water, right? Hurricane, those categories are all based on wind speed, not necessarily water. So we want to throw that out there. The other thing, and again, Brian said the dirty side of the storm, the upper right quadrant, right? When it comes to rainfall, it can be any place. So you can see here with Faye, it went right along the track. That was where the heaviest rainfall was, right? For Irma, the rainfall was heaviest to the right of the track, which is kind of follows with the dirty side of the storm, right? Ian was to the left of the track, okay? So that's on the quote-unquote clean side of the storm. So just because we're not in that situation where we're calling it a hurricane does not mean that we're not going to see significant impacts out of that, okay? All right, and again, I'm going to just reinforce what Brian said. So this goes back to 1851 through 2020, yet I haven't gotten an updated map on my PowerPoint since then. But this is August hurricanes, okay, going all the way back to when they started recording. That's what it looks like over the Florida Peninsula, right? Here's September. There's October. October looks like somebody barfed up a plate of spaghetti on a map of Florida, right? So October, the end of September and October are traditionally our busiest months here in Florida. And this reflects that. So again, hurricane warning, hurricane watch, right? Hurricane watch comes first. The terminology I want to reemphasize to you folks again, because that goes along with the educational piece, right? And knowledge is power when it comes to being prepared. So hurricane force winds are possible within 48 hours. Tropical storm watch is the same. Tropical force winds are possible within 48 hours. When it switches to a warning, now they're expected within 36 hours. So please understand the difference when you hear the terms, okay? When we go from a watch, we're like, okay, we need to pay attention. Like today, I was getting watches from about noon on about the possibility of severe thunderstorms this afternoon. It went to a warning just as our little session here kicked off. That's when I kind of perked up a little bit and started paying attention a little bit more, okay? But please understand the terminology. So let's talk a little bit more about how to prepare. And again, Brian gave you a good overview. I just want us to hit some additional key points. Stay informed. That is absolutely key. But I will reemphasize what Brian said. Make sure you are getting your information from credible sources. For us in the first responder world and in emergency management, we can only act on official information from NOAA and the National Weather Service. Okay, so believe me, we tune into Brian and we tune into Tony and we tune into everybody else. But we can only act on the information that is provided to us by NOAA and the National Weather Service. Okay, I've got a lot of staff members that watch so-and-so's weather page and so on, and somebody else's weather guests and so on and so forth, right? It's always good to see what people are saying, but we can only act on that official information. But stay informed, okay? Along with the stay informed, aside from watching the weather, there's other things you can do. Your city and the county have social media pages where we put out information above and beyond maybe what the National Weather Service is talking about. We will start talking about where you can pick up sandbags, for example. Okay, we will talk about where our shelters are going to open and if they're going to open and all that good kind of stuff. We push those out through social media. So subscribe to those social media sites. Volusia County Emergency Management has an app. It's available on the Apple Store and the Android Store. And again, the National Weather Service alerts and other alerts like Amber Alerts come through that, as well as additional information when we activate on additional things that we are doing. Again, sandbag events, shelter events, whatever it might be. I know the jerk that actually gets to call evacuations. Yeah, that's me. In this county. And so we will push that information out through that app, through our traditional media, and through social media as well. If we close bridges, yeah, again, I know the jerk that closes the bridges. That's me. We will also put that out that way as well. So stay informed. It gives you, put your finger on the pulse of not only what was going on, but we do our absolute level best in conjunction with your city officials on providing you with information not only about what's going on, but what you can be doing, right? An evacuation order. We issued an evacuation order for Milton. Everybody aware of that? We issued an evacuation warning for flood zone A. Anybody know what flood zone they're in here in Deltona? It varies, okay? You can go, if you Google Know Your Zone, you can actually go to a website that is done by the state of Florida. You can put in your address and it will tell you what your flood zone is. And we normally evacuate by flood zone. When we pulled the trigger on flood zone evacuation A, there's about 111,000 residents in Volusia County that were impacted by that order, okay? So again, stay informed. Knowledge is power, okay? Brian talked about the other thing that we'll try and push out is when those sales tax breaks, holidays, come down the pike for preparation, okay? They haven't announced them yet because they haven't approved the budget yet, is my understanding. Traditionally, there's one the first part of June, and then there's another one in the August-September timeframe. We're assuming that will happen again this year, but we don't have official dates yet. We will push that information out as well. So again, to reduce the impact as much as possible on you folks to be prepared, okay? Prepare a kit. Deltona Fire over here, your folks have done a fantastic job of showing off a very, very good kit for a household, okay? There's a bajillion variations on that kit. You can buy them commercially. You can create your own. It all is dependent on how you want to do it. But I recommend you have a kit, and we'll talk about some of the things to have in a kit here in just a minute, okay? Know your evacuation zone. We talked about that. Make a plan. Okay? Does everybody know what their evacuation route is out of their neighborhood? Okay? We have official ones that we don't publish until we need them because every storm or every incident that we have has a personality to it, if you will, and it can change. So we don't want people getting in the habit of going down this evacuation path if all of a sudden that evacuation path is underwater, for example, right? But know some alternative routes to get out of your neighborhood or get out of your city. Did everybody see what happened to I-95 and I-4 pre-Milton? We saw all the traffic coming from Tampa and other places. We were driving on the shoulders legally. I've seen a lot of illegal driving on the shoulders, but that's a whole other story. And again, while we weren't necessarily in that evacuation order, we were impacted by all of that traffic. And not only were we impacted by the traffic leaving, then everybody had to come back, right? So we got it both directions. So know some alternatives when it comes to evacuation. If you have kids, grandkids that you're responsible for, and they go to school, how are you going to get reattached with those people if you need to evacuate? So have a family communication plan, right? Sometimes included in that can be a family meeting point. If you can't get a hold of each other on these little nifty gizmos, and guess what the first thing to fail when something bad happens is, it's these nifty little gizmos, though the cell phone companies do a very good job trying to keep them up and operating. But do you have alternative modes to contact friends and family? Do you have an out-of-state point of contact? Sometimes it's easier to call across the country than it is to call across town. So have an out-of-state point of contact where somebody can, if you can't get a hold of your friends and family here, you can at least let somebody out of state know. Now you've got a common contact point where you can connect and say, yeah, I've heard from so-and-so and everybody's okay, right? But that family communication plan. A lot of times, and again, coming from the Salt Lake Valley was a little different. We had a lot of no-notice events, meaning that we didn't get any warning that they were coming. Meeting locations. If I can't get a hold of you on my cell phone, go to this location and we will meet there. Okay? So there's those kinds of things that you can put, tools in your toolbox, so to speak, to help you be more resilient and more resistant to the impacts that we may suffer. Okay? The other thing, look out for each other in your community. We all have friends, family, neighbors that maybe are limited in their mobility or their ability to take care of themselves. Make sure that we're looking out for those folks as well. To that end, there is a special needs registry, and Carissa will probably touch on that a little bit, that you can register those folks in pre-storm, and that gives us in emergency management, the health department, our first responders, a database to go off of people that might need a little extra help and a little extra warning to help get them out of harm's way. Okay? Evacuations. There's some terminology that's kind of out there that is a little bit erroneous. Some people will talk about mandatory evacuations versus voluntary evacuations. I'm here to tell you an evacuation order is an evacuation order, okay? You will probably not see me come out and say this is a mandatory evacuation or a voluntary evacuation. This is just an evacuation order. That means we are telling you conditions are going to be bad enough. We don't want you in that impact zone anymore, okay? And part of that is because the situation may cause an environment that is immediately dangerous to life and health. There's a phrase that we like to use a lot. Or it may be that we can't get help to you if you pick up the phone and call 911 because you haven't left, you've gotten in trouble, we pick up the phone and call 911. Our first responders will literally kill themselves trying to get to you, but there are some situations potentially where they physically cannot get to you. And the last thing we want is for you folks to be in a situation where you pick up the phone, you call 911, and the answer is, we'll get to you as soon as we can. Okay? So that's one of the things. Long-term interruption of public utilities, fresh water, sewer, electricity, gas. My experiences with hurricanes, one of the biggest problems that we see a lot of the times in debris cleanup and repopulating areas that are evacuated are what we call white waste. Unfortunately, when do most of our hurricanes occur? September, October, right? What's the temperature like in Central Florida in September and October? Okay, now imagine your refrigerator going without power for a week in that kind of heat and what it looks like, smells like, and feels like after in Central Florida, okay? All of that stuff comes into account, right? We've got to get you, we want you out of that dangerous situation, okay? Down power lines, that's a big issue, right? We'll see them all over the county. We don't know if they're energized or not. Again, our utility companies do a very, very good job in trying to make sure that we're safe and everybody is safe when they move around, but we can't always tell if a line's de-energized or not. If that line happens to be down on a chain link fence, and that chain link fence runs for 2 blocks, that whole fence is energized, right? So there's just environmental impacts and things that we cannot control and you cannot see that makes it dangerous for you to be in that impact zone. So that's why we issue those evacuation orders. The last thing I want to do is ask you folks to leave your homes and leave your possessions, right? Not my favorite thing to do, trust me, okay? I work for the government, I'm here to help, honestly. But I'll go back to the old cliche saying, stuff can be replaced, people cannot. And that's where my priority is making sure that you are all here after the storm to be mad at me for asking you to leave, okay? And I'm okay with that. So those are just some of the things that we talk about. Why do we evacuate? Okay. The other thing, if we do evacuate, folks, I will ask in your patience in getting back into your homes. Okay. A lot of the times with hurricanes, and we've all seen it, right? Within a day, the storm's gone, the sun's out, it looks nice outside. Why can't I go back home? Well, we are dealing with all of those impacts, including cleaning up all of those nasty refrigerators, that we have to make sure that the environment is safe before we can let you back in. So be patient with us when it comes to the repopulation side of the evacuation. We are doing our level best, and we have lots of help that is out there doing that as well. But it takes a minute. So please be patient with us, okay? So what can we do right now? We've talked about a lot of them. Know your risk. Anybody live anybody know their flood zone right now? What flood zone they're in? Okay. Know your zone will help with that. If you're in a flood zone, guess what's going to happen when a storm comes? You're going to flood. Yeah, I know. It's not rocket science, folks, or I wouldn't be here, right? Do you live in a manufactured or a mobile home? They're a lighter weight construction, and they have a tendency to suffer damage easier than a typically, what's now typical in this area in Florida are those block constructed homes or those block constructed buildings, right? So know what your vulnerabilities are. Have an evacuation plan. We talked about that. I always tell people, hey, you don't have to wait for me to issue an evacuation order. If it feels uncomfortable for you, leave, right? Go visit the mouse in Orlando. Go do something. Go visit friends and family in Georgia. I don't care, right? But if it's uncomfortable, go. Have 2 evacuation routes. Again, a primary and a backup. We've talked about notify friends and family, neighbors, out-of-state contacts, and carry with you, and we'll get into this a little bit more, a list of important phone numbers. What should be on your list of important phone numbers, folks? Friends and family. That's a given, right? What else? There's the one I was looking for right there. Your insurance company. That will become huge later on, okay? That's an important number, okay? Any other phone numbers or contacts that you think you should have? Doctors? You may need to call and get a prescription transferred, adjusted, extended. Those kinds of things, okay? So think a little bit outside of the box. Play that what-if game with yourself, okay? We've talked about the family communication plan. I'll reemphasize here too. Please consider pets if you have pets in your family. It's heartbreaking when we are forced to deal with abandoned pets. We had to do that a lot in my experiences with Katrina and Rita down in Mississippi and Louisiana. Lots and lots of animals had to be euthanized because they were left behind. Okay, so please consider your pets when it comes to that. Basic terminology and notifications, right? We've talked about those. We've given you a little bit of knowledge tonight to talk about those. The next one, insurance. I know insurance is a 4-letter word in the state of Florida right now. I get it. But if at all possible, please include insurance as a tool in your toolbox. Now is a good time to reach out to your agent and understand what your level of coverage is. A lot of policies, not a lot, some policies will have exceptions written into them about extreme wind, for example, right? And if there's that exception in there, guess what? They're not paying. Flood insurance is separate from your homeowner's insurance. There's water damage in most homeowner or renter's insurance policies, but not flood. They are separate. And they will tell you that when you call them and say, hey, my house flooded. Oh, it flooded? I'm sorry to hear that. You're not covered. Okay? So if at all possible, make sure you know what your coverage is and you include as much coverage as possible. For flood insurance, please understand if you need to add it, you can't add it the day before a storm hits. Most insurance companies require 30 days notice for a policy to go into effect. So that's why I'm saying think about it now, because we're inside that 30-day window to the start of hurricane season, and there's nothing that says that we won't see an early season hurricane. Again, I'm not trying to panic anybody, but I live in that what-if world, so that's what I do, okay? Some other minor things to think about. If it looks like we are going to get a storm, okay, don't wait until 24 hours before to go down to the corner gas station and fill up your car. Do it beforehand. okay? If you've got the capability of safely storing a little extra gasoline, it's never a bad idea, right? Whether it's for your home generator or whether it's for your car, it's good to have that sort of thing around. But again, make sure you're storing it safely and appropriately if you do so. Let's talk about other things in your kit for a minute. I'm going to deviate from my slides here. I can do death by PowerPoint all day long, but some other things to think about with your kit. And again, your fire department has done a wonderful job in preparing this kit. What are some other things that you think you would need to put in your kit? There's one really specific answer I'm looking for here. Important documents. Birth certificates, death certificates, marriage licenses, insurance information, all of that stuff, social security cards, and they need to be the originals. The reason being, if you have to apply for assistance after the fact, copies don't work. Okay, they will work, but there's an additional process, right? So you need, if you can have the originals with you, it just speeds that recovery process for you. So important documents in some sort of watertight container that you can put in your kit. Okay, what else? What's that? Cash. That's the other one I was looking for. It really sucks if you go to the gas station to fill up and they say the power's down, we're on generator power, cash only. Most of us, except in times of a storm, I don't carry cash anymore. My wife doesn't let me out of the house with cash. She says I'm dangerous with it, but that's a whole other story. Most of them will go into this cash and carry mode, right? It really sucks if you need cash, you run up to the local ATM and the power's out. Guess what? The ATM doesn't work. Okay? So have a little cash on hand. That's never a bad idea. Okay? Those are the two big things I wanted to touch on. Family communications plan, we've talked about that already. Again, more information about your disaster kit. A lot of places will say 72 hours. We recommend 96 hours. Plan on being on your own for 96. I won't steal too much of Carissa's thunder, but I will say even if you end up going to a shelter, whether it is a general population shelter or a special needs shelter, please understand those shelters that we establish are called shelters of last resort, okay? And again, I'm not trying to panic anybody. I just want to be transparent with you. Those are not what you normally see in a movie where you see a shelter set up and there's all kinds of nice, neat little cots and lots of people running around to help and stuff like that. Normally it's at one of our schools. It's in the gymnasium or the cafeteria, and there's no furniture. So think about things to put in your kit that if you need to go to a shelter, that makes your stay there a little bit easier. Blankets, sweaters, chairs, okay, et cetera, et cetera. Food, snacks, things to entertain yourself with. It really, again, most people entertain themselves with these. The power runs out. Can't always guarantee you that you're going to be able to charge it, right? I always, in my kit, I got a deck of cards, right? Just something where I can keep myself entertained. Again, just to help with that whole sheltering experience if we need to go to. But these are things, and there's some information up here at the front next to your fire department's display that I can leave here for you that's got a lot of this information in it as well, okay? And we've talked about this. And again, Brian and people talked about battery-powered flashlights and battery-powered radios. They are good. I am a fan of solar-powered or hand-cranked. Okay? The reason being, I don't have to carry extra batteries, and the batteries don't go bad sitting on the shelf waiting to be used. Okay? That's just a personal preference for me. If you do use battery-operated devices, make sure you've got extra batteries. We talked about the important documents. Here's the other one. Medications and glasses or contacts, right? Make sure you've got a sufficient supply because they may not be readily available. Here's some just suggestions on some of those extra funsy things. Change of bed linens, specialty items for babies and children. Nothing worse than having a kid at a shelter or on a long car trip and you've got to entertain them and there's nothing to entertain them with, right? So think about that. Coloring books, again, those things that don't require power. My wife's kid is 22 years old, so I don't know what the latest trend with young kids are. I don't know if a lot of kids know what coloring books are anymore, but I'm just saying, okay? any specific personal hygiene items you might need, some extra tools, a basic set of tools is good. Here's another one that I've seen a lot, extra keys. I swear during most major disasters, there's a little gremlin that runs around and eats keys. Okay, and if you get into that, when you get into that repopulation area, one of the things that law enforcement kind of looks for is, do you have a key to the front door? Because if you do, I know you belong there and I can let you in, right? If you don't have a key, it takes a little longer to reunify you with your, back to your home, for example, and you may suffer some additional damage, i.e. the door gets kicked in for you to get you in, or a window gets broken or something like that. So again, have an extra set of keys in your kit, okay? Pets, again, I said, please don't forget your pets. Include them when you talk about water. The recommendation is 1 gallon per person per day. A pet is a person when it comes to planning for that, so make sure you include that. Food, medications, special food if they need it. A lot of shelters, if you don't have a carrier or a leash, you may be separated from your pet and that pet put in a special location away from everybody else because there's no way to contain them. Does that make sense? Okay, and that may happen anyway, just depending on what the shelter is and how it's laid out. Okay, after the storm, again, Brian talked about it. Don't use candles or open flame. I won't even say I recommend you don't. I'm just going to tell you don't. Okay, it really sucks to live through a big hurricane or a big storm or a big natural disaster, and then your home burns down because you had an accident with a candle. That's really a bad day. You might even constitute a bad week, right? Take extra care with the generators. Unfortunately, we always seem to have casualties after a storm from carbon monoxide poisoning related to generator use. Drive only if necessary. If the lights are out, it's a 4-way stop, okay? And again, all the other stuff, that seems common sense, but if common sense were so common, right? Okay. Food safety, here's another one. We talked about the refrigerators. When in doubt, throw it out. Okay. Again, healthcare services, emergency medical services may be delayed or reduced in their capacity to help you, so don't put yourself in a position unnecessarily that you need to use their help. Okay. That's it. That's all I've got. And you're like, thank God. Can you shut up and sit down now, right? Are there any questions? Ma'am.
Okay, you mentioned special needs registry.
Yes.
Let me get the
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Again, like I said, this is being televised, so we want everyone out there to know what the question is to the answer.
Thank you. When you mentioned special needs registry, to what degree of special needs? I have an 88-year-old mother. She's still mostly mobile. Would that be like a special needs?
So I'm going to turn this one over to Carissa. Carissa is my cohort in crime. She is from the Florida Department of Health. The Florida Department of Health is one of our absolute essential partners when it comes to special needs and special needs sheltering, and she can probably answer that. In general, my answer is if she's limited in mobility in any way, or it takes her a little bit longer to do something, register her. There's no harm or foul in doing so, and I would rather err on the side of safety than not. Carissa, and I'll let you expand on that.
Thanks. Yes, go ahead and have her register, or you can register her. But yes, it's important to go ahead and get her in there because, again, sometimes things change over time too, so it's always important to go back into that registry and get that.
I have a question about bank vaults. You said to take all your paperwork with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Your important paperwork. If we have a bank vault, is it safe in there?
Is it a vault in your home or is it a vault in the bank? It depends on the bank, and I'm not saying, and I'm not going to pick on any banks. Their vaults are very secure, but if it gets flooded, sometimes water is insidious, and sometimes it gets into the vault. So there's always a concern there, and then the other piece becomes, can you get to the documentation after the storm? Can you get to the bank to get it out?
Okay. And my last question, and I thank you for all of this. I thank you for having all of this. About evacuations, I don't know of an evacuation route in Deltona.
Okay, so normally what happens if we issue an evacuation order, again, remember I said each storm's got a personality. We will give you recommended routes that we know are open and that we coordinate with law enforcement, for example, so we have, and FDOT, so we have the extra capability. We have them pre-designated, but we will tell you the major routes, the major roads and stuff to use. I can't give you a specific to get to out of your neighborhood to that major road. So when I say have some alternates on how to get out of your neighborhood to the major roads.
Okay.
Thank you for helping me clarify that. I probably didn't do a good job of that.
Thank you.
Of course. Any other questions for me?
If I may add something to that question, you know, sometimes when I'm driving around, I pay attention to the signs, and I've seen some signs that says evacuation route.
No. And again,
But that would tell you, like, that's the road that you need to follow.
Yep.
And I guess you just keep following the signs as you keep going along.
and we will give you destination points too. We will tell you where to go. And the reason that we don't have those front loaded for you is, again, the situation may change, and I don't want you getting in the habit of, oh, my evacuation route, I go here, I go here, and go here, and I'm driving you into a flooded road, for example, right? So we try and be careful. But if we issue the evacuation order, we will be pushing out information about what routes are safe and where to go is safe.
About the special needs, where do I register?
All right, so if that's it for Clint's
Any other
questions.
questions for me? And I'm going to give some time to Carissa. She is going to talk about special needs and special needs shelters. She's much more of an expert on that than I am. So, thank you. Folks, again, thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Clint.
Thanks, Clint. All right, so for special needs shelters, there is a way to register. Up on the table, there is a flyer for it that you can get. There's a QR code on there, and there's also the website that you can go to. What's important about the special needs shelter is the people that need oxygen or something that requires power to keep them going, because it's a medical device. We will have the power. Now, we are last resort. So again, if you have a family member, register them, even if they're not going to come to us, but just get them into the system and registered. But the best place for them to be is with family or friends, because again, they're used to and they're comfortable. We want them to be healthy and happy and as best they can, right? Because we're all under a lot of anxiety at this point. Our anxiety is going because we have this, we're trying to get this away from the storm. There is going. We also do have a room for an area that we try to put our Alzheimer's and dementia patients, so that way if they do have to come to us, we are able to handle them. Now at our shelters, we do have some nurses there. They're there just to kind of do the minimal, just to assist. They'll help you take your vitals if you need it, help you get your medications, but they are not what you will find in an ER or in a medical facility. These are just our nurses that we have at our health department, which are family planning nurses. But they are there to assist in that way. We also, the health department does stock up the shelters. We do have 6 shelters the school gives us. 3 on the west side, 3 on the east side. Now, which ones are we using? Well, that will be based on the county, Clint over there. He will then decide which ones we are opening, and they will put out that announcement on which ones will be open so you guys can get to those shelters. Special needs shelters also are pet friendly. So if you do have a pet, you may bring your pet with you. Now, if it is a service animal, the service animal will stay with the patient while they're there at the shelter, because again, the service animal is providing a service. If it's just a domestic animal, they will go into an area that is set aside for pets. We have a room that we do put aside for pets. Again, if you're bringing a cat, make sure that the cat has a kennel that's big enough to fit a litter box, because they do need a place to go potty. And you don't want to let them out, because then you might be missing your cat. Thanks, Glenn. Yeah, so, but you'll be responsible for the care of your pet. We do have an animal service individual that will be at the shelter, at the special needs shelter. But again, that's one person, and there's going to be lots of pets. So you will be responsible for making sure you bring your animals food and water bowls, things like that. And yes, at the special needs shelters, we do have cots there for our clients because they are usually the most vulnerable of the population. So we try to make sure that they're set. But if you have any questions about the special needs shelter, please register for this now instead of right when it happens. So that way we can make sure we have everything that is needed when you guys are there.
Any questions? Thank you. So it sort of calmed down outside. It was really ugly out there. I mean, I just opened the door and I got soaking wet. It just splashed all over me. My papers are all soaking wet. But the next, I'm going to jump over a little bit. Person we're going to call is the Assistant Chief of the Fire Department, Stephen Cousins, so that he can quickly give us a quick demo or information of what the fire department does and what they can do to help you. And then we'll go into the last resort to save you during everything that's been discussed, which is the insurance. Chief?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much. My name is Steve Cousins. I'm Assistant Chief, and one of my roles as Assistant Chief is Emergency Management Coordinator. Our Fire Chief, Bill Snyder, is our Emergency Manager for the city. And we ramp up those roles historically in hurricane season. That's typically our most active. Second most active is typically wildfire season, and then we fill everything in between, special events and things like that. So to me, what stands out the most so far, coming towards the end, is there's so many resources out there. There's a lot of information, a lot of resources. The biggest thing is understanding the resources are there and knowing where to find them. Clint talked about the Volusia County website. It's a great place. There's a lot of resources that fit us here in Deltona as well as the county as a whole. Those resources are coordinated. They're shifted to where the largest need is, right, to meet the demands of the many. So websites are good. Just one last time re-hit. When you look for legitimate information, I can't urge you enough to find an official government-related site, whether it's National Weather Service, NOAA, Volusia County, the city of Deltona. Those are those most trusted sites, right? Typically, if you look at Deltona, you look at the county, you will see a majority of information mirrored, right? So things like sandbag locations will be on our site, but it'll be combined countywide on the countywide site. So typically, information we have, they'll have, and vice versa. Sometimes they may be a little quicker at posting things, or we may be a little quicker, but both those sites. You want to drill down a little bit into our local level here in Deltona. You're gonna get just things that are related to us. Small things that may be beneficial, looking on a bigger side as well, is sandbag locations, for example. You're in the city, but there may be a county location like right off of 415 at the Fire Station 36 here in Osteen. That may be a shorter drive, may have more sand or things like that. So just get those trusted resources, and we try to keep those up to date as much as possible. So again, drilling down at the local level. So when we have specifically hurricane related, we'll coordinate with the county, state, NOAA, National Weather Service, all that stuff to make these determinations. And everything primarily is on a coordinated effort. So when we do stand up the Emergency Operations Center here in the city of Deltona, it's in this room that we're sitting in today. We've made improvements to the structure and building to make sure it's safe and sound for us to occupy the space. And just like Clint said that they do. We eat, sleep, and work out of this building primarily right here. A lot of work goes ahead of time. Our logistics department comes in and makes sure we have food, resources, cots, all those things. And as a whole, every department comes in here primarily and occupies at some level in the room. We have departments like code enforcement that help us post-storm. So they ramp up and get their things. They go home. They stay safe. Post-storm, they'll come in and they'll do assessments. They'll assess at the citywide level. They'll help assess city infrastructure, city parks, facilities, and things like that to let us know what the level of damage is on some of the most critical infrastructure that we have, right? Super important things for us are water, right, roads, access, and things a little bit out of our control, power, right? Well, we have control related to that is opening up roadways and assisting in opening up roadways so the power company can get in and things like that. So out of this room, you'll see water department, you'll see public works, everybody will be in here, fire, us, EMS as well, sheriff's office. They have a seat at the table as well. All of our utility folks are in here. So we're up and running, and we'll do that ahead of time, and we'll run through the event till the primary response and mitigation piece is done, meaning not every single road necessarily is open, and not every power is restored to every home, but as long as the majority of the assets are up and running and things are stabilized to the point that we can start getting everybody back to normal. You guys back to your homes, hopefully with power, as well as the folks that have been in here for usually several days. They get home, they get the check, and then they get back to their offices, right? The most comfortable place, most efficient place for them to work. So that's kind of our cycle through our EOC. What guides us through all our disasters, hopefully limited number on a small scale, is our comprehensive emergency management plan. We have one on the local level. It dovetails in at the county-wide level, right? They're complementary to each other, and it outlines everything and responsibilities by department, right? We pull that out. We ensure we train annually on the plan. We stand up and we'll set up the EOC and make sure everything from computer connections are working, power, antennas, all those things are up and running, so at the point in time we have to stand up and occupy this room, everything's good to go. That'll happen later on this month for us, and we'll do that and ensure everybody knows their roles and responsibilities. Staff constantly changes, so we ensure that everybody is where they need to be. I won't hit too much on the resources and things like that, right? We've had a lot of information about it, but just know if you are having trouble finding a piece of information, please call us. Just call our main number and we'll direct you in the right place. Just like we had somebody call and ask about, hey, where do I find the special needs registry? How do I do it? We were able to sit down, talk them through it. This person needed a little extra help, so we were on the phone as they were getting online and doing it, and we walked them through. That's what we're here to do, is to support you through that whole process. A few things on the for us is Clint talked about is get prepared early. Do everything from take advantage of a Publix BOGO on some food and shelf-stable stuff to flood zones to anything you can do to prep, right, and know those things. Understand that at the same time you're prepping, right, at those 4 days and sooner, we're doing the same thing as the city. We're boarding up facilities that still need to be boarded up that don't have hurricane-rated windows. We continue to clean drainage ditches. We continue to check on infrastructure that are there. We're ordering supplies. Example, everything from adding a few extra chainsaws, some more fuel, and things like that in the fire department. Law enforcement is re-racking a schedule, bringing in additional people, setting that up. And we have to have the employees time to fix and get settled at home so they can come in. So while you're preparing, so are we. Doesn't mean we don't have time. We're here to ensure and guide you in whatever direction you need for any of those questions that you have. Again, we're hunkered down. We're doing everything we can do to respond in the most efficient and effective manner, and we're out as soon as we can after. Both folks prior to me talked about there's going to be a point in time where we may not be able to respond or have a delayed response out. Wind is a big thing for us. We have high-profile vehicles. It sounds silly, but an ambulance struggles a little bit sooner than a fire truck, even though a fire truck oftentimes is a little bit taller, but due to its weight, it can traverse a little bit better, where ambulances have to come off the roads a little bit sooner on wind, and patrol cars are even sooner than that. So at some point in time, there may be a delay or postponement, and we won't be able to respond. So again, finding an appropriate place. If that's home, based on what's coming, that's fine, right? That's the easiest. The next easiest, and just one more time to reinforce, is the next easiest place is with a family member or friend, right? They know you, they understand you, they have the creature comforts of the things that are there. And then, of course, the shelter is the last resort. Understand that when you evacuate or you decide to relocate, all the way back for me, I'm a native of Florida in Volusia County. I was born and lived in New Smyrna Beach pretty much my whole life. I worked there till I retired and then came back to work here in Deltona, and extremely happy. It's a great place to work. No, just stating the truth. But one of the things through the 04 hurricanes were real simple. We saw clogs on some of those first storms on 95, hours and hours and hours and hours of not moving. You may not, depending upon the circumstances, and like Clint said, every storm is different, you may not need to go out of state. You may just need to move inland, just a little bit north, just a little bit south, so you don't have to be hours. You don't have to be in Atlanta. You don't have to be in Tennessee. You don't have to be necessarily in other places, right? Typically, you want to find a place, if you have a family, friend, or relative, you want to get out of that, preferably you want to be out of that category 1, right, or lower situation. So if Volusia County is kind of in the main heart of it, you may be able to go just slightly farther east, an Ocala or something like that, and get out of that really significant risk area. You don't have to always be miles and miles or states away to do that, to get to a safe location. So pre-planning that ahead of time and those options. And just staying current. I'll close because she knows I can talk all day. A lot of material's already been covered, but the biggest thing locally is that if you're struggling to get information or finding out accurate information, or you just need some guidance on, I don't know where to start, I don't know what to do, or hey, is there a resource? Call us, stop by, and we will get you pointed in the right direction. If it's something we can handle, we will. If we can get you in contact with Clint or his staff, if it's kind of above our scale, or any of the other resources that are out there. But I can guarantee you there's more resources out there than most people are typically aware of. So again, if you're struggling to find the right answer, or you're not sure, call us and we will either get you the answer, point you in the right direction, but we won't leave you hanging. We will always ensure that you get whatever information you need for the planning purposes that you guys have. So I'll end it with, is there any questions?
Any questions?
It's one of my shortest talks. So that's,
I'm telling you, I'm giving you an award. Thank you. One of the things that I have to say is immediately after hurricane has passed and is safe, these guys are out on the road with our code compliance staff assessing the damages and making sure that all the roads are safe for our residents to travel in. And as he said, this room becomes the emergency center for us. So everything here looks different. Every department is here. The sheriff's department is here. I mean, everybody that works for the city is here. And I can tell you that probably nobody knows it, but once the county declares a state of emergency, our city manager no longer exists. the chief of the police, chief of the fire department takes over the control of the city. They run the city. So all the orders and recommendations and this comes from our chief, our fire chief. So the next person that's going to be speaking, it's from AAA. I know that you brought her to speak, right? I left my notes.
We're going to share. We're going to share, yeah.
Okay.
We're going to be short and sweet.
I'm going to love you for that. So this is the next, I guess, the most important phase in your life when it comes to hurricane, tornadoes, and stuff, which is your insurance. And hopefully everybody does have a home insurance if you need to have one. And after past experience, flood insurance, right? I live on a hill, so I was told that if I flood, Deltona is gone. So I'm good with that. But if you guys want to come up and speak on behalf of your insurance, I know we have AAA. Here you go. Thank you.
That is not very sturdy. Hey, good evening, everybody. Mike Comento with Comento Insurance Group, and this is Jen with AAA Insurance. We're going to be kind of short and sweet because we have a fantastic group of people that have already spoken. I'm actually kind of impressed with the caliber of people that we have here in Deltona helping us. It's pretty cool. They've already touched on pretty much 90% of what I think we were going to say. Couple of things that they didn't talk about with your actual insurance policy. One, of course, know your coverage. Two, know the things that are not included in your coverage. How many people have solar panels? Okay, if you have solar panels, I got my homeowner's insurance set up 10 years ago and then I added solar panels, but I never added my $30,000 insurance panels to my insurance policy. Guess what will not be covered most likely? So little things like that. I added a shed. I have an extensive amount of jewelry or firearms. Those kind of things typically need additional coverages with your homeowner's insurance. So always kind of keep an eye on that. For your health insurance, which is kind of more my side of specialty, know what kind of network you have. Where can I go? If my local doctor gets flooded and I can't go there for a month, what are my backup options? Medications. Do I have enough to go through a couple of weeks, if I have to leave town or whatever, things like that. And then I'm going to let you talk because I think that's pretty much most of what I wanted to talk about.
Thanks so much for having me, Mike, and the city of Deltona. I just wanted to share a quick about myself. I'm Jen Canada, and I am with AAA, and we do have home insurance, flood insurance, auto insurance. We are writing new policies right now for homes in Florida. A lot of people were worried that we were not writing new home policies right now, but we do have home insurance, and we are writing new home insurance. Flood insurance is really important. It's our own product, but it is the National Flood Insurance Program. We did find out and confirm that any policies that get started between now and September, they are guaranteeing through FEMA that they will cover for the entire year. And so I know a lot of people were worried about if FEMA was going to have the funds to be able to even back those policies. Yes, the reinsurance has been confirmed, and the National Flood Insurance is allowing us to continue to write brand new flood insurance policies. There is a 30-day wait on flood insurance, so now is the time to get with your agent. If you don't have one, I would love to do that for you. My name is Jen Canada, and I have been an insurance agent for 12 years here in Florida. I'm married to a fireman and paramedic. He's retired from City of Orlando, and he did 25 years, so I understand both sides, is the after effect, things that happen, and also what things that you might need to protect. A lot of people just don't even know what kind of policy they have. They bought whatever the realtor recommended because that was the price that they needed to get their home loan. Pull out that paperwork. Call your agent. Ask them to go through it with you, okay? We want to see you every year. We want to talk about what's changed in your house and in your life. Did you have a new baby? Did you buy a new car? Did you add the solar panels? Do you have a screened room off the back of the house? That's usually not automatically covered at the time of a hurricane. It needs to be included. You want to list that extra item on your policy. So call me and let us talk about it. We want to walk through the policy line for line. Maybe you don't need all the stuff that was automatically included in there. Maybe you can save a little bit of money and we can find that extra money that you need to buy that flood insurance, right? So I'm Jen Canada with AAA. I'm out of your local Daytona office or Heathrow. I grew up here in Deltona. I actually graduated from Pine Ridge, go Panthers, and I've been in this area for 30 years, so I do know the area, and I'm happy to help talk through your policies line by line. I am a teacher at our office. I actually teach classes for mature drivers, and so I am really dedicated to helping you understand what you have, you know. I have some flyers here if you need them. It's Jen Canada, and my email, if you want to contact me, is jcanada@acg.aaa.com. And you can contact me that way. You can reach out. You can send me a copy of your policy. You can just send me your name, your address, and your birth date, and I can reply to you with that flood quote. I can tell you how much it would cost to have that added flood insurance at your house and make sure that you're protected. Again, it's Jen Canada with AAA, and we do have new policies that we can help you with now. And it's not to sell something, it's just to make sure that you're protected. I can help you find the money for it in your policy, I bet.
That's pretty much it, guys. Like I said, everybody else has really covered it. Have all your documents, put them all in one place. It's a good idea regardless of what's going on. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say. Before storm comes, take photos. Don't take pictures of every single thing. You know where your couch is going to still be there. But if you have a workshop full of tools, I have a big workshop in my backyard full of tools. Every year, if a storm's coming, I go in there and take photos because I have to be able to show the insurance company, yes, I had that table saw and I had this, that, and the other. Those are very expensive. So yes, always take photos. You can also email them to yourself. Basically, everybody today has, their phone. They have the cloud and everything, so typically everything's automatically backed up.
You notice how a woman has to always be next to a man to help them out? You notice that, huh? I did. One of the things that I learned in one of the previous presentation was to always look at your insurance papers, and you're going to find that what your home is valued to be replaced on your papers is much less than what is really going to cost you, God forbid something happens to your home. That you're not really insured properly, and that you need maybe a little bit higher insurance to make sure that your home is covered completely. And I learned that from another person that I know from an insurance company.
Extended replacement cost that you can add that will cover you if labor and lumber and materials actually are higher at the time of a loss, which after a storm, cost of materials is higher. It's hard to get that wood, it's hard to get that block. And so you can add an endorsement to your current policy for that added extended replacement cost.
Yeah, and everything is going up now these days, and hurricanes around the corner, so you go home and look at your insurance papers and make sure that everything is covered. You wanted to ask a question? Yes.
One other thing real quick I want to add on to that, because I'm sorry, I'm not as high-tech as some of our previous speakers where they had PowerPoints. I just had a little notepad. One thing a lot of people don't realize, your regular deductible for your homeowner's insurance and your hurricane deductible are two very different numbers. Typically, it goes from $1,000 to 3% of the overall cost, which can be, 10 grand up sometimes. Yes, question?
I know. You're Sobel, right? Emerald Sobel's my sister. She's an Emerald. Oh, I'm sorry, my question. Sorry. Number one, selfish question. Do you guys do HO6 policies for condos?
Yes.
Yes. And this is a dumb question, but I've been asked it multiple times, so I want to ask. Flood insurance. If you live on the second floor of a condo, do you need flood insurance?
Yeah, basically you need flood insurance for anything you want to be covered for flooding.
So what, flood is not rising water?
It is.
No.
Yes. So your water damage, and correct me if I'm wrong, because she does more property and casualty, I do more health life. Yeah, call her. But typically speaking, when you have water damage coverage in your policy, it's more for like a pipe bursting. not.
Water backup, that's even a separate endorsement.
Well, it's no, but water damage can be a pipe burst.
The
Yeah,
roof is
too.
leaking,
Yeah, that
the
too.
plumbing's messed up, you pulled out the, refrigerator to clean behind it and you pushed it back and the tubing broke, that can be water damage in the house. A flood is from the outside, it has to cover at least 2 properties, so not just your property, but your neighbor also has to be flooding or the street has to be flooding, so it's 2 or more properties. And the water has to come up from outside. 2 inches of water can cause a ton of damage. How on the 2nd floor could you have damage? Your neighbor is going to get some erosion on her foundation because there's water, and then everything's going to shift a little bit. Well, that's going to cause you to have problems too.
I know of an example beachside during Ian. A storm door broke on a balcony on the 23rd floor and caused damage all the way down. So the storm door broke on the 23rd floor and caused water damage all the way down. It's not water damage, it's flood damage.
The coverage that we have, so the confusion to me is we don't have flood insurance. I'm on the 2nd floor. There's something in there called wind-driven rain.
Yep.
So there's like all different stuff. So that's the stuff that
Lots
needs.
of different scenarios where they can say no thank you.
And yeah.
Or, yeah.
And my owners always, like my owners say, do I need flood? I'm like, you're on the 2nd floor. Like it's not raising all the way up there, but that's the information I need to find out.
Yep.
Okay, so you can talk after the meeting and make an appointment and then thank the city.
We're happy to help. I just want people to understand what they have so that they can feel confident going into it and not be like, oh, I wish that I had checked before.
Any other questions? So go home and check your policy. Make sure that you have the coverage necessary, especially now with the inflation going up and everything raised, Thank you guys so much, and I apologize for the short, but you like that, right, Mike? It was short and quick.
Absolutely.
Okay, look at this. I have so many microphones. I don't know which one to use. So again, thank you everyone from coming out, and I hope that you're walking away with some information that you didn't know about, and that's going to help you when you get back home. I want to give a big shout out and thank you to our PIO, Catherine, who actually put all this together for me, and her staff. Also want to give a shout out to Parks and Recs, Ruben, who's stuck back there in the dark room. Let's see who else. And again, thank you everyone for being here and choosing to be more educated on what the do's and the don'ts during hurricane tornadoes. And I just want to say something real quick about Clint when he said that tornadoes usually like to take I-4. We know about that. The last tornado that was here was right next to McDonald's on Deltona Boulevard. So we were all hiding in our little shelter, which is to us is our laundry room, because that's the only place that we don't have windows and doors and going to the outside.
And the only thing that moves fast on I-4 during rush hour.
Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you to our fire department for taking the time.
Radios?
Yes, we're going to do the raffle now, but I just want to thank my staff, our staff, the city staff for being here. These guys have been working since early this morning. Kat, thank you so much. She's been here since this morning as well. A poor thing. All week we've been beating up on her for events. So, thank you so much for being here and putting all this together. This is all on you. Thank you so much. So if everybody get a raffle ticket. So these are the weather radios that are highly recommended by our fire department, because all the information that comes from that weather radio comes from, Clint, what was the?
National Weather Service and NOAA.
Exactly. That's the ones that sends the reports out through these weather radios. So we're going to be having, Clint, can you do us a favor of pulling a ticket?
Do you trust me on my board?
Of course. And I'm going to tell you, I have one in my house. I don't even know it's there. But if something is coming, it lets you know. It's so noisy, it's unbelievable. So the ticket number, of course, is 3880-6. Am I getting close? 1. Closer? 0. There you go. with electricity and batteries. So as Clint says, always have an extra battery next to, at home available, and you can fix it to only get reports from local sites or wherever else you want to get a report from. Okay, so the last four numbers, 06, getting close, 25. We have two more. Okay, next four numbers, 06, 2, 2.
The whole person after me.
I'm donating somebody else.
Oh, okay, that's nice of you, thank you. Mine is like kind of breaking up, so maybe I'll pay a ticket for myself. 06, 8, 2. Ah, there you go. Last, but not,
Just one more.
not least, thank you, 8, 3. Oh, there you go. Again, thank you everyone for coming out, and those of you viewing from home, thank you for tuning in and watching this event. And if you want something more than what we're presenting to you, please let us know, and we'll make sure that for next year we will have it available, information available for you, as well as the people watching from home. Let us know through emails, contact our PIO, let her know what else you would like to see. Thank you, Clint and Clarissa. Thank you so much for coming out. We are so happy to have partnered with the county coming to us and helping us with this event. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.